Okay, I should be back live. Let me know when you all see it. Hello, I've returned. I you got an ad? You got an ad? Okay, Rib sees it. Rib sees it. How's the audio? It's blurry, but I think that's me. I did turn down the video quality and I also turned down the frames per second. Honestly, I feel like we can probably turn the frames per second down to like 10 just cuz like this is like it's not really important what's happening on the screen. But yes. Okay, it seems like things are working slightly better than before. We love to see it. Um why is Google open? Here's my notes. It's my notes for Umineko. My Umi notes. Um but yeah. Okay. We just got started. So we just got started. Jessica just came back. Um and Maria's also chilling in the room. Um yeah, great. We love that things are working. We love that things are working. Looking at the clock. Yo, hi Carla. Yeah, it's working. Looking at the clock, I saw that it was a little past 10 p.m. Even if we were planning to stay up all night, it was about time to head back to our room. Okay, last time, right? We had the dinner TM, right? Where Maria whips out her letter and causes so much drama. And then Kraus shows Natsuki the singular gold bar, proving that the gold is real, and Natsuki like crashes out. She's like, oh, I trusted you and you don't trust me. And then, she has the cute scene with Jessica where Jessica's not doing well and her mother's not doing well, but they're both trying to be considerate to each other, and it's just very sweet. And now this is right after that. So yes, this is where we are right now. Well, my mom did have a room prepared for us in the mansion. What'll we do? I'd rather head back to the guest house. Going by what we saw of our parents, I think it'd be better if we weren't in the mansion. I agree. Feels like they're telling us kids to mind our own business and stay out of their way. Let's be good little boys and girls and do that. As we were talking about this, Aunt Rosa came into the parlor. She was looking all over restlessly, probably trying to find Maria. Aunt Rosa, if you're looking for Maria, she's over there on the sofa. Thank you. My, she's out cold. We must move her to a bed. If you'd like, I'll carry her over to a bed. Thanks, that would be wonderful. Are you all heading back to the guest house? Or are you going to stay in the room that Sahine-san had prepared here? We were just talking about that. We just decided to head over to the guest house. I see. Then could I ask you to take Maria with you? I'd feel much more reassured if she stays with all of you cousins. Behind those words, she seemed to be concealing some regret that the adults, herself included, had deeply hurt Maria's feelings. Maria has been going through it. Leave it to us, Aunt Rosa. After all, we do have an expert at comforting Maria with us. George? Stop glazing George. Badler needs to stop glazing George. Jesus Christ. Hold up. I want to pour myself a little more tea. Are you talking about me? I couldn't do it myself. We'll need everyone together. That's right. Battler, weren't you the one who hit it off with Maria when you were messing around earlier? As we said this, Aunt Rosa smiled, looking truly happy. Thank you, everyone. It looks like our meeting will last until very late. So, while I'm sorry to burden you like this, I'll be counting on you all to take care of Maria. Hey, Maria? Are you sound asleep? I don't know who this is. We're going back to the guest house. Maria muttered something indistinct, rolled over, and fell back asleep. It looked like she was sleeping deeply. Oh, she's really out cold. I'd hate to wake her. Maria literally deserves so much better. Right, I'll carry her. Maria's body was much lighter than it looked. I don't know what this means. I lifted her up and put her on George Aniki's back. It was raining hard outside, and Aniki couldn't hold an umbrella and carry Maria at the same time. It looked like Aunt Rosa would come with us as far as the guest house to help out. However, when she heard Uncle Krause's voice call out to her, she had no choice but to return. Now that's a problem. I have to go back now.
Is everyone returning to the guest house?
As we left the hall on the way to the entrance, the door to the servant room opened and Shannon Chen stepped out.
It has grown very dark, so allow me to guide you.
That would be great, Shannon-chan. George-kun is going to carry Maria there. Could you hold an umbrella for him?
Yes, certainly.
Shannon-chan brought umbrellas for each of us and a flashlight to guide the way. As we opened the front door, the downpour was quite terrific. It looked like we wouldn't have any spare time to take a pleasant walk and enjoy the nighttime rose garden.
Anki, is she too heavy? Want me to carry her?
It's okay. I can at least carry Maria-chan. I'm truly grateful. Please take care of Maria. Sure, you got it. Then I guess this is good night, Aunt Rosa.
Then I will see them over there and return here.
Yes, please. Aunt Rosa watched us leave. Maria, I'm so sorry for everything. Rosa's mumbling voice didn't reach the person in question, nor any of the kids, but disappeared beneath the sound of the rain. Oh my god, the rain is so awful. We're going through the garden, down the steps, to the guest house. After cutting through the rainy rose garden, we arrived at the guest house.
Ha! If only I'd applied for the position of Maria Carrier.
Battler, you can't say that. You can't say that, Battler. New viewer here, you have some fun voices for the characters. Umineko is my favorite visual novel. Oh my god, hi, welcome to the stream. As you can probably tell, we're still in episode 1. Murders have not yet started happening, but I'm excited to see.
Then I would have gotten a chance to have Shannon-chan's huge boobs rubbing all over my arm.
That's not why I did it. It's a misunderstanding.
I thought that if I didn't walk like this, George-sama would get all wet.
Come on! Quit babbling and go in! After being urged on by Jessica, we folded up our umbrellas and went into the guest house.
Has anyone gotten their clothes wet? I can bring some towels if you want.
You don't need to worry about us that much. Thanks, Shannon-chan.
Ah, that's right. We were planning to play cards or something. Would you care to join us for a bit? First time viewing for me too. Who is narrating? The guy with the red hair. Who just
The guy I'm voicing like Ash Ketchum.
but not for all the parts. There are some parts where it's like someone else. Battler. Yeah, Battler. Yeah, we're Battler. Is that the famous Battler? It's the famous Battler, the one and only. Battler Ushiromiya.
Huh?
Who had the night shift on today's schedule?
I believe we had a special schedule during the family conference. Also, I think a few alterations have been made, so I will go and check.
Oh, wait. If you have to go all the way back to the mansion to find out, don't force yourself.
Oh, that's all right. I can find out from the servant room in the guest house. Please excuse me for a short while.
Okay, wait, I forgot to take notes. And then, return to the guest house, and Rosa asks them to take care of, Maria. And leaves to check the schedule. Ash Ketchum Battler still 10 out of 10. I have zero knowledge on this, so I'm just nodding. Yeah, apparently people are gonna start getting killed soon. I don't know how soon. Didn't know this was so complicated that notes needed to be taken. I feel like I should try to solve a mystery for once in my life, and this is the one mystery I want to solve. Like, you know, I watch Conan and I don't solve the cases. I never solve cases for anything, but I hear this is like a fun one to try to solve. Shannon Chen gave a quick bow and went into the guest house servant room. The rest of us headed for the cousin room and decided to put Maria to bed for the time being. I think Aunt Rosa is suspicious. Don't know of what yet. Oh, let me tell you, okay? Let me tell you what Aunt Rosa is suspicious about, okay? Let's go back up here. Let's go to, yeah, let's go look at this. Let's hang out at the beach, and down here, they have a fun time at the beach, and what's happening? Maria's rose from earlier in the garden is missing, and so Maria gets distressed. And then Aunt Rosa, who is Maria's mom, by the way, she loses her temper, yells at Maria, hits Maria again, and then tells everyone to leave because she has to settle things with Maria by herself. So yeah, you're right. Something's wrong. Something is up with Rosa, and this is what's up with Rosa, okay? Yeah, it's crazy. Like, you hit her, and then, like, she starts crying, and then you hit her again. That's crazy. Maria was sleeping very deeply, and there was absolutely no sign of her eyes opening. For now, we get some soft drinks out of the room's refrigerator and drink those while playing cards or something. Whilst she's crying. How is Kanon everywhere? Are there, like, two of him?
Oh, Kanon-kun. And you're here too, Genji-sama. What has happened with tonight's shift?
Cross-sama has given an order. He made some sizable changes to the shift schedule.
Indeed.
Goda-san now has the night shift at the mansion.
Okay, wait. Shift schedule changes for the servant made by Kraus. Kraus and Goda are totally in cahoots. Shannon and Kanan have the night shift in the guest house. Kumasawa-san and I have been ordered to sleep in the guest house. Sus as fuck? Sus as fuck? Just now, a phone call came, saying that once you arrived, you were also to remain here for the rest of the night. That's crazy. That's sus as fuck. At the guest house? Kumasawa? I wonder where Nanjo is. This is so sus. What?
Huh? That certainly is a sizable change. The shifts at the guest house and the mansion have been completely reversed, haven't they?
Interesting. Originally, Shannon and Kanan had been assigned the night shift in the mansion, while the night shift in the guest house where all of the relatives were staying had been assigned to Goda, who had an abundance of experience in entertaining. Kumasawa-san should have been sleeping at the guest house, while Genji should have been sleeping in the mansion. However, it seems that Kraus had suddenly ordered that the schedule be modified. Huh. Huh. Sus. Big Weaver tip. Make a Kara sus tag so you can quickly check all the times a character was sus later. So true. Kraus. Sus. Wait. I forget. Wait. Oh, right, the brackets. So true. And I would say Goda is also sus here. Oh, you're helping me Thick Weaver Max. The shifts at the guest house and the mansion had all been reversed, and Genji was spending the night in the guest house. Genji knows too much? Like, why is Genji getting shifted around? Like, I feel like Kraus and Goda are up to something, and they don't want Genji to know.
It's probably because of Beatrice-sama's letter.
Why probably?
After such a mysterious letter appeared, it was only natural that Kraus-sama would suspect one of us. We served directly under the master, so Kraus-sama tried as best he could to keep us far away from the family conference.
Genji, Shannon, and Kanan were all permitted— oh, I didn't even notice that. Genji, Shannon, and Kanan were all permitted to wear the Ushiromiya family crest, the one-winged eagle, as the servants who served directly under Kinzo. Of course, since they were working for the Ushiromiya family, they had to obey anyone's orders, but their only boss was Kinzo. Since only Kinzo had the right to employ them, even Kraus could not have them dismissed of his own accord. Because of this, Kraus and the others often viewed the servants as Kinzo's underlings and shunned them. Shannon, Kanan, and Genji are to wear the one-winged eagle and serve under Kinzo only. Other people are suspicious. I mean, with good cause, like, Kanon's always eavesdropping on some shit. And in fact, Kinzo seldom let anyone other than them enter his study. This sudden shift change was probably a clear expression of the sense of mistrust that had caused. They're just vibing! They're literally just vibing. Considering the time Kinzo had left to live, this would definitely be the last family conference before the problem of the inheritance came up. No, I trust him. Let him eavesdrop. The listener. Literally, I trust him. On top of that, the mysterious letter that claimed to be from Beatrice had dropped in out of the blue. Kraus definitely wanted to keep Kinzo's loyal subjects away from the table of such a delicate and important discussion. If you would excuse me, I will go rest. If anything happens, call me immediately. Our guest tonight is a special case, after all. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that, Genji? Who is our guest? Beatrice or Maria? Our guest tonight is a special case, after all. Quote, Genji.
Yes, certainly, Genji-sama.
Genji nodded back, went behind a screen, took off his jacket, and slowly began to relax after a day's worth of tension.
The ones who just returned now, were they the children?
Yes. The other relatives are having a conference in the mansion. It looked like it would drag on for quite some time.
Then we've got it easy. It's already this late. And there's this weather. The rest of the relatives will probably spend the night in their rooms in the mansion.
Yes, probably. I'm only saying this because Genji-sama isn't around, but I'm a little happy I was sent to the guest house. I guess.
Okay, Shannon, your burgeoning crush on the worst guy in this game. Okay. Cass who thinks, hello, are you egg? Are you egg? I feel like you're egg.
Oh? Why is that? Because you can stay away from Madame and Eva-sama? Those bullies? Or do you have another reason?
It's not as though I have another reason.
Shannon's burgeoning crush on the worst guy in this fucking house, except for the guys who are worse. I might be. Hi, welcome. We're doing more Umineko, as you can see.
I see. Then, let's do our best together with our night shift. I'm counting on you, Nezan.
Just now I was asked to go to the children's room and play with them.
Shannon hung her head apologetically, gazing at Kanan uncertainly. Can I go play toys with my friends? Can I play toys with my friends? Kanan didn't try to meet her eyes and spoke curtly as he sighed. Oh no! Oh. It looked like he didn't plan on indulging his, quote, sister. Boo!
You can't. You are assigned to the night shift. Besides which, it isn't necessary for furniture like us to respond to an invitation to play. You understand, right?
Yes. I do understand.
Shannon's shoulders drooped slightly. Oh, she's so sad! She's so sad! Or I might be Deg's evil twin. Maybe. Get Shannon out of there! Wait, I missed a bit where I was making dinner. Who's got the crown? For the worst guy in the game? Shannon? Shannon has a thing for George. I tabbed out for 5 seconds. What are these vibes? Yeah, like, Shannon's begging, Kanan, like, can I go play toys with, like, the other kids at the guest house? And Kanan's like, no? You're literally clocked in on your shift, girl. What are you talking about? She had already expected that Kanan, a stickler for rules, would say something like that, but she still seemed a little discouraged. Let her go play toys with her friends, and Kanan says, no, girl, you are literally clocked in. What the fuck are you talking about? George, worst guy, everybody hates George. As Kanan flipped through a logbook, he spoke without facing Shannon.
That means the children will be waiting for you. You'll have to apologize and tell them you have the night shift and won't be able to stay with them. Go and come back.
Yes! I'll go apologize and come back. Shannon hurriedly stood from her seat before her brother's mood could change and flew out of the servant room after giving a quick bow. Oh, I can't wait to figure out why everyone hates him. As he watched her go, Kanan took a single deep breath. Genji's voice came from beyond the screen.
Kanan, I will be here, so you can go too. Genji-sama, Shannon was the only one called. It's not as though I was invited.
That is only because you were not there at the time. If you had been, you would have been invited as well. It is good to play as a child from time to time. Kanan voted most repressed character on Rokenjima?
No, such a thing is not necessary for me. Human children may have a need to play, but we are furniture.
Is that so?
Nissan is also furniture. Even if she pretends to be a person, it will only hurt her later. I understand that, so I try not to get too close to people. That's all.
Genji did not say anything after that. After a while, he stood up and used a pot of hot water to make powdered cocoa, serving some to Kanan as well. Aw, hot cocoa! Yay! Genji encourages Kanan to go play as well, but Kanan rejects him, insisting that he and Shannon are furniture.
Is that for real? I had no clue.
Dumbass, you're too loud! You'll wake Maria up! Battler was so surprised that he yelled obnoxiously and scattered his cards everywhere. You're gonna have a full book of notes by the end. Yeah, I literally am. His voice caused Maria to turn over once, but she soon fell back into a deep sleep. Jessica gave him a jab and he lowered his voice.
Still, seriously, now that you mention it, they really did have that kind of atmosphere, didn't they? Now I see. So George Aniki is...
George couldn't be seen anywhere in the room. A short while ago, when Shannon came into the room, George suddenly said that he'd forgotten something in the mansion and needed to go back and get it. George sus moments. George was being sus earlier with Kumasawa too, just so we all know. Return to the Well, we don't know he returned to the mansion. We know he left the room. George said he needed to go to the mansion because he forgot something there. After Shannon came to the room. Okay, George. We add this. We add this. George sus moments. Shannon said she would guide him, just like she had on the way to the guest house, and the two of them departed together. Oh. And they left together. Oh. Well, there's actually been signs of it for a while now. You know, questions about hobbies and favorite things. I always thought it was a bit much for a passing interest. And look what's happened now.
Come to think of it, I get the feeling George Anaki's always been overly nice to Shannon-chan. And now I get it.
Oh my god. I imagine this is how some people look at Shinselti, like, what a train wreck. What a train wreck. Oh, so we are with George and Shannon now. We are going back to the... Oh, we're not going back to the mansion. Oh, where are you two going?
According to the weather report, it looks like it'll be at its worst tonight. It also seems it'll last all day tomorrow, though it should get a little better.
Really? Then maybe the boat won't arrive until the day after tomorrow. I hope that doesn't interfere with your work on Monday.
I already knew the typhoon would be coming beforehand. Just in case, I made sure I didn't have any plans for Monday, so it's okay. I may not look it, but I really am the type who can plan ahead in his schedule.
George puffed out his chest, acting proud. Compared to the calm appearance George always had as the oldest cousin, he now looked amusingly like a little kid. Shannon chuckled at this abrupt contrast. Okay. Okay, so I'll title this, Kids Return to the Guest House. And then this is... Where even are they? George and Shannon in the shack? Where are they?
It's no surprise you're so well prepared, as someone who'll bring prosperity to his company someday.
Oh, the nice music, the chill music, the cute music.
Well, making a company prosper really is a tough job. Money isn't the only thing that's important. I learned that well when studying under my father. Making a company prosper is like owning a castle and leading your subordinates. My dad really loves reading about great leaders during the warring periods of Japan, a hobby that's probably influenced by the fact that he shares Toyotomi Hideyoshi's name. Much of his philosophy on managing businesses comes from talking about them. Did you know? Hida Shingen, who is feared as the leader of the strongest cavalry corps in the warring periods, started out with his troops in complete disarray and didn't have the kind of strong leadership necessary to utilize them well.
Is that true? That's a little unexpected.
In order to unite his troops, Shingen showed his excellent leadership in many ways. For example, when a soldier succeeded well in battle, he would immediately honor them with a medal. Normally, that kind of thing was put off until after the war, and they were all awarded at once. He continued this diligently while on the field of battle, and immediately showing his appreciation for his troops' military exploits motivated them in an extremely significant fashion. Also, whenever one of his troops was brought down by an illness, he would be the first to rush up to them and care for them, and so on. Takeda Shingen wasn't just the man who led the strongest cavalry corps in the warring period. He was the person who cared the most for his troops throughout that era. And because he was that kind of person, all his troops went along with him.
The truth was, Shannon had already heard this story several years ago. George starts talking about Takeda Shingen and how he took such good care of his troops. Oh god, he's explaining history to a woman? He's one of those guys! Oh no! History she already knows! But whenever a discussion of his father led to this sort of topic, George would always glow and look like he was having a great time. So Shannon just smiled without interrupting, urging him to continue. The mansplaining hero of Rokkenjima, so true. Of course, in a capitalist world, money determines both your strength and the height of your fortifications. But you can't build up a castle or succeed in war by yourself. Such things can only be accomplished with the support of many subordinates, by borrowing their strength. After understanding this, when I look at my father's back, I now realize how immature I am. I can clearly see how much competition he had to overcome before building up all he has now.
George-sama, you truly look up to your father. I'm jealous.
Sorry. That's not how I meant it.
I'm sorry. That's not how I meant it either.
The two of them awkwardly looked at their feet. Shannon had no parents. George fumble! George fumble! Everyone point and laugh! She had been brought up in an orphanage owned by Kinzo called the Fukuin House. Interesting. Gospel? Under the guidance of Kinzo, their honorary director, the orphanage offered members who excelled a chance for on-the-job serving experience. That's so interesting because Shannon and Kanon, I think, have both been portrayed as like low-key fumblers. Like they're like hashtag fumbling their jobs. So it's so interesting that apparently they excelled TM. Like what did they excel at? If their efforts met with Kinzo's approval, they'd be able to leave the orphanage and work as servants for the Ushiromiya family. And grew up in the Ushiromiya sponsored orphanage and was offered a chance to serve the family. So peculiar. This was considered to be the highest honor for those who lived in the orphanage. Servants from the Fukuin house all took names with the character On in them while they served. Wow, so she wasn't always Shannon? So Shannon wasn't her real name. The same went for Kanon. All of the members of the Fukuin house were orphans. At least, they were all people who had been separated from their parents under special circumstances. Because of this, the orphans had been taught to think of each other as their only family. That's why it seemed so natural to both of them when Kanon called Shannon his sister. And while both Shannon and Kanon were working in the mansion today, there were several other servants possessing the in character in their names, such as Manon and Lanon, who often worked in a rotation schedule. Oh, there are other servants. I wonder if we get to see them. grew up in the orphanage together. I wonder what happens when they get older though, because like Genji and like Goda, they're clearly not people who graduated from the orphanage, you know? Are also servants who serve from time to time. I wonder what they're doing when they're like not on rotation. Like, do they go back to the orphanage? However, there are not many servants who stayed with the Ushiromiya family for long. It was standard for them to quit after 3 years. So you could probably say that Shannon, who had been working for 10 years, was a notable exception to the rule. It's insane. Like, what do you mean you were employed as a servant at 6 years old? Like, what are you talking about? How much could a 6-year-old excel in the orphanage? Like, girl? They have living quarters on the island. Oh, okay. Oh my god, we have Menonists, Lenonists. So true. So true. Working as a servant for the... I should write that down. Servants typically stay for 3 years only. So Shannon, on year 10, is an exception to the rule. Working as a servant for the Ushiromiya family was a heavy burden to bear, but the pay wasn't bad at all. Working for a full 3 years would earn more than what was needed to enter mainstream society. That was why, even though the orphans realized what a harsh task working for the Ushiromiya family was, they still hoped to be accepted. Maybe the fact that Shannon managed to continue working for 10 years wasn't because she had more willpower than the other servants. I know, right? I wonder if this is why. Maybe she'd gotten stuck working for 10 years because she didn't have the courage to say she wanted to quit. Kinzo couldn't even trust his own blood relatives, and these excellent servants sent from the Fukuin house were the only ones he could rely on. Because of that, Kinzo would sometimes allow them to wear the family crest as servants under his direct control and have them work close to him.
You've been working here for almost 10 years now, right? You must have saved up a lot of money by now.
Oh no,
I wonder. It's not like there's anything in particular I'd like to buy. After all, a few million yen isn't enough to live off for the rest of your life.
So, the reason you've been working all this time wasn't to hit some target sum?
Maybe she didn't have the courage to quit.
Yes, that's right. I have nowhere to go outside of this mansion. And I have been getting along well with Milady and other young servants. The Madame does scold me sometimes, but caring for the roses and cleaning the mansion is fun.
But that can't be your entire life, Shannon-chan. No, Sayo-chan.
Shannon cast her eyes downwards when she heard her real name. She understood what George was trying to say and fell silent. Local man finds out not everyone wants $1 million Brazilian dollars. So true.
There's something I've learned as I continue to study even after becoming an adult and a full-fledged member of society. A human's life is not as monotonous or as short as we thought when we were kids.
All school-aged kids have certain fears they can't shake. They wonder whether they'll live the rest of their lives like sleepy classes after a monotonous they wonder whether they'll live the entire... I'm just reading words that aren't even there. They wonder whether they'll live the rest of their lives like sleepy classes after a monotonous and boring school day, spending their time in a carefree laziness without anything interesting happening until it's all over. However, Life's only like that for underage students. Compared to a human's life, the time they spend as students is nothing more than a blink of the eye, a period where they break through the shells of their immaturity. Inside the shell might be a hot, suffocating, and boring world, but the world beyond that shell is vast and filled with limitless possibilities. So far, your life has been trapped inside the shell called Shannon. I think you're under the mistaken impression that your life will continue like this forever. That's... Shannon couldn't deny those words. She'd been unable to harbor any clear doubts about her lifestyle, and since she never had any hope or goals for changing herself, she'd lazily continued living the way she always had. And if asked whether this life was satisfying, she wouldn't have been able to nod. She may have been unintentionally averting her eyes from the truth. Without George's admonishments, she would have continued pretending not to notice as her real life slipped away, bit by bit, neglected.
George-sama, is it wrong for me to continue living this way?
Yeah, it is. He just said it. Like, what? Why do you think it's your place to say it? Not even a little, I think. Not even a little, in my opinion. Not even a little disclaimer about it. Oh, and by the way, didn't you break one of our rules just now? George immediately gave a strict answer, then broke out in a mischievous smile. Shannon already knew what she was being chided for, and she hung her head again, apparently embarrassed. Didn't you promise not to use Sama when the two of us are alone? And a cop, too! Literally! George's character in a nutshell.
I couldn't obey that as a promise. But if it was an order, I would have to obey it. Because I'm... furniture.
Kill yourself, George! Then, it's an order.
Yes. Certainly, George-san.
As Shannon hung her head, her face red, she said George's name again, this time following it with san. Yes, that's fine, Sayo-chan. George Ushiromiya is Agent 007. 0 charisma, 0 good scene, 7-year age gap. Literally, the 7-year age gap! In case you all didn't know, there's a 7-year age gap between these two characters. George smiled at Shannon, no, Sayo, to praise her small act of bravery. Wait, for real? For real? I know, right? 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 George, no! This short exchange alone made it clear how far back their relationship must have stretched. For a long time, the two talked as if the weather raging about them didn't even enter their thoughts. They talked about the many memories they'd built during their relationship that no one else knew about. Every once in a while, a flash of lightning would attempt to interrupt them, but this could sully neither the roses nor the time they spent blushing at each other. Is something supposed to be happening? That's right. I have something I wanted to show you. How old was Shannon when this started? Well, I don't know how long they've been flirting, but Shannon's been at the house since she was 6 years old. I don't know.
What could it be?
George, who had been speaking eloquently, suddenly started to stutter. Watching him, Shannon seemed to guess something. George timidly searched through his pocket. Something got caught in the depths of his pocket, and just like the stuttering George, it took a little while to get it out. It was a very small box. A small box covered in a deep blue velvet. That peculiar shape was enough to tell anyone what was resting inside. That's crazy! We just letting him get away with this? Mods, kill George! George, don't you dare, don't you dare. Everyone's worried. Everyone's so worried. Shannon had prepared her heart somewhat, certain beforehand that this was what he'd been planning. But even so, when she actually saw it, she couldn't avoid blushing once more. George opened the small box, took something out, and held it out for Shannon to take. I want you to take this.
I couldn't accept something so valuable.
You can't take it?
No. I'm unworthy of such a thing.
Sayo, this isn't a request. I am forcing you to marry me. Nuke this man from orbit. Sorry, I think it's so funny that I'll be like reading and then like one of these people will say something so out of pocket that I have to break character. I have to break character. It's an order. Take this ring. Okay?
If it's an order, I cannot disobey.
I can't believe this guy! Yeah, that's right! I can't believe this guy! Yeah, that's right. Well done. George, kill yourself challenge. Shannon, not wanting to show her bright red face, timidly accepted the ring from George's hand while still staring at the ground. No! Literally a horror movie. Literally a horror movie. The murders haven't started, but the horrors have begun. That ring wasn't a simple accessory. It was a noble object meant since ancient times to be offered to a special woman under special circumstances. Therefore, while George could order her to take it, he could not order anything beyond that. Anything beyond that would depend not on an order, but on Sayo's own will. Maybe George will be the victim when the murders start. A prayer circle for George to be the victim when the murders start. So, from here on, I'm not ordering you anymore. Sayo, I want you to give me your answer by tomorrow, without using words. Do you understand?
How should I?
I won't. I can't do this! I won't order you any further, so this isn't an order. But a ring is something you put on your finger, after all. If you like it, you can just put it on any finger you choose. Shannon had only pretended not to know. She already understood what he wanted her to do. But she was standing at a huge crossroads of her life. Look how late it's gotten. Let's call it a day. George turned away from Shannon, acting just a bit bluntly. I could probably order you to wear it on your left hand. You might be timid and dependent enough to actually obey that kind of an order. But I want at least this last step to be done by your own will, Sayo. Understand?
Yes.
Men be normal challenge. Men be normal challenge. Yeah, she's literally a teenager. Kill yourself. So, that's my order. I want you to think about it well tonight and show me your answer tomorrow. Shannon nodded back. Today was the culmination of their many days spent together. Actually walk in the ocean and don't come back. Walk directly into the typhoon. This moment certainly hadn't come as a surprise to Shannon.
We should be getting back to the guest house soon. If we take any longer, we'll make everyone worry about us.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just remembered something I had to do in the mansion, so, I have to go back to the mansion.
At a time like this? Is that true?
George stared into Shannon's face as he laughed mischievously. Shannon, you are ordered to stay in the guest house. George proposes to Shannon and orders her to take the ring and to think about whether she wants to marry him. Shannon says she has to do something in the mansion. It's too late for that, George. He definitely saw through Shannon's lie. However, when he saw how she felt, he could sort of understand that she might be so embarrassed that she'd want to be alone. So, because George realized the meaning behind Shannon's lie, he accepted it. Okay, so we are now in a new section. Don't know what this is going to be all about yet, but... How long have we been streaming, by the way? Okay, an hour. Once again, get Shannon out of there, for real! Shannon entered the entrance hall to the mansion with a tottering gait. A mixture of exultation and uncertainty gave her a feeling that she couldn't easily describe. It swelled up in her chest until it felt like she was about to burst. After stopping for a second in front of the servant room to take a deep breath and calm her heart, she opened the door. Inside, Goda, who had been ordered to take the midnight shift at the mansion tonight, was absorbed in a worn-out crossword puzzle magazine. Dude, are you not on your shift? Why are you doing crosswords? He looked up for an instant to see if one of the family had come, but when he realized it was a fellow servant, he returned to his puzzle as if nothing had happened.
Genji-sama told me to come and help you.
Ah, is that so? That's a relief. I was just about to go check that the mansion was fully locked up, but I felt uneasy about leaving this room unmanned. After all, Kraus-sama and the others' meeting looks as though it will continue for quite some time. They might request some tea at any moment.
That's true. Then, what shall we do? Should I watch over?
Bitch! In that case, forgive me, Shannon-san, but I'll ask that you patrol the mansion. I will stay here, awaiting the family's orders. If George is alone, this is the perfect moment if anyone wants to kill him. It's the perfect moment, guys! If Shannon dies, I'm going to lose it. Literally. Who would want to kill Shannon anyways? Shannon returns to the mansion and goes to the servant room. Goda orders her to patrol the mansion.
Yes.
Shannon was slightly disgusted. You are the one on the shift, dude. Even though she'd come here to help out as a favor, she was casually being forced to do the job of the person actually on duty. Yeah, literally. Furthermore, after one-sidedly forcing that task on her, Goto returned to his magazine once again and became immersed in his crossword puzzle. God, the bar is on the floor when it comes to the men in this game, literally. Shannon bowed her head as a token sign of respect for her elder, then left the room to patrol the mansion. Thanks to her being a bit ticked off, she managed to suppress that floaty feeling she'd been having until just now. And anyway, she couldn't let Genji or Kanan see her looking like this. She wanted a little time to herself until her heart calmed down, so maybe going on patrol wouldn't be so bad. Oh no! This is also the perfect time to kill Shannon, I'm not gonna lie. This is also the perfect time to kill Genji? She began to hear the tumultuous voices of the family discussion coming from the dining hall. Someone was speaking at great length only to be interrupted by someone else. The second person also began to speak in a very long, drawn-out fashion until yet another person interrupted. That kept on repeating. George and Goto are on the hit list now, for real. It was as though their displeasure was seeping out through their voices. She had been told to go to the guest house, so it would be bad if Kraus discovered her. Thinking this, Shannon dashed past the dining hall. Uh-oh. Then she went along a prearranged route through the dark mansion, checking that all the locks were secure. She walked down the hall, checking each window. There were no humans on Rokkenjima. The specificity of saying there are no humans and not no people on Rokkenjima is so something about it. There are no humans on Rokkenjima other than those connected to the family, so locking up didn't really serve much of a purpose. You know, I wonder if Shannon and Kanan are human at all, actually. Like, they always dodge the question by saying they're furniture, but it's like, what if they're actually witches? I don't know. Are witches real? No one had been in the habit of locking up at the Ushiromiya head family, at least not until Natsuhi had scolded them for being careless. The metal fixtures on the window were ice cold, and as she checked them one by one, the glow in her heart seemed to cool down. The butterflies! The butterflies! At that time, she thought she saw something twinkling across the hall. Twinkling? How could anything be twinkling through the darkness of the hall? She figured she must have been imagining it, but she still held her breath. Grasping a curtain, she fearfully gazed down the hall. However, other than an occasional crack of thunder brightening the hallway, she was unable to glimpse any flicker again. It must have been her imagination after all. It's witches all the way down. Maybe her heart was so agitated that she'd seen something that didn't even exist. Shannon went back to checking the windows. However, a certain unnerving memory was resurrected in the back of her mind. It was that ghost story, which had been passed down amongst the servants who served the Ushiromiya head family. The mansion had two different masters, one of the day and one of the night. Beatrice, the master of the night, would sometimes fly around the mansion in the form of sparkling butterflies. The ghost story of Beatrice flying around the mansion in the form of sparkling. That was the story. Come to think of it, didn't Kanan-kun once say he'd seen it with his own eyes?
though he got sulky when I said he must have imagined it and refused to believe him. Could it possibly be true? The roar of the thunder gave no answer. Kanon had mentioned seeing it once, but Shannon had dismissed him. And we are now going back to the guest house. Well, who's we? Are we George now? Oh, we're going somewhere else. Wait, is this the guest house? No. The atmosphere is just unparalleled. The bells, the wind. Hi, Beatrice. Beatrice. The passage of time. What a beautiful way to show the passage of time. Nanjo in the void. Why is that guy's back arched like that? Oh my god, achievement unlocked. All the pieces are in place. What will you see on the game board? Midnight? The music? Shit's tense. By the way, what are you using to make notes on? It looks cool. It's so funny that you say that. Carlo Dev in the chat made this. It's called Fic Weaver, and it's meant to be a fic planner. And then so like you can make these nodes, right? And then you can have like notes, and then like you can connect and disconnect them. And like for example, if you go back earlier when I was taking notes with even more diligence, you can like add annotations, you can add pictures, you can add videos, you can add events to a timeline. It feels like a very useful tool for reading Umineko. Yeah, it's awesome. Fic Weaver mention. Yeah, so that's what this is. Oh god, Firefox is not responding. Wait for it to respond, I guess. Is it free? I would perhaps like to use it. Yes, it's free. Yes. You can... You know, it's not good that Firefox is frozen because I would have had a nice link to send to you. Could I close the program and reopen it? Am I gonna lose my notes? Well, whatever. Let's ball. I'll just add it in after the stream if it disappears. And then over here... Is this the Fig Weaver one? Yes, this is the Fig Weaver site, so I will send it to you. They're saved in the cache, but it's best if you export them to safekeep. So true. I should, like, export after every stream. That's what I should do. My good habit. Which I don't have yet. Yo, the hubris check actually makes so much sense here.
What is the difference between docs and MD? Is MD the... No, wait. Save is the... Yeah, okay, it's saved now. We need hubris checks for the notes. So true. Genji tightened his bow tie and looked around through a crack in the curtains. Maybe the rain had died down a tiny bit since the previous night. Oh, mark down! Okay, I'm nodding my head. But the thick rain clouds didn't seem like they'd be letting any trace of the morning sun get by. The morning was dim and far from refreshing. It seems it will last all day after all. Sorry for keeping you waiting, Genji-sama. Kanan was finished checking his appearance and exited the washroom. It isn't midnight, actually. It's the next morning. On their normal schedules, it was rare for anyone to have to suffer going straight from a midnight shift to an early morning shift. They were on a special schedule for the 2 days of the family conference. You just don't sleep. Servants don't need to sleep. Doc is like a regular word, Doc. I'm nodding my head. However, unless the typhoon passed today, the relatives' stay on the island would last until tomorrow. Kanan thought it best to be prepared for the special schedule to last an extra day. So diligent, Kanan. The two of them left the guest house, opening their umbrellas. The rose garden had been devastated by the wind and rain on the previous night. Even though they'd spent several days making it beautiful to welcome the guests, one stormy night was enough to ruin it. Kanan sighed. The two headed for the mansion. They were supposed to meet up with Goda and prepare breakfast. Goda was such a perfectionist that he had probably already woken up and was probably already preparing a breakfast as exquisite and elegant as glasswork. They reached the overhang by the entrance to the mansion and folded up their umbrellas. Genji took a bundle of several keys from his pocket and unlocked the front door. The Ushiromiya family mansion was the only thing on Rokkenjima, so in the past they hadn't been in the habit of locking up. However, Natsuhi had ordered that the mansion be locked up from midnight to early morning. Ever since then, unlocking the door in the early morning had become part of the servants' morning shift. Natsuhi insisted on the mansion being locked up from midnight to early morning. This was also mentioned in the previous section, so it feels like kind of important. This task had been given to Genji and Kanan, so that Goda could start preparing breakfast as soon as he woke up. Task for Genji and Kanan. Silence had fallen in the mansion, giving the impression that the mansion itself was still asleep. Well then, let us begin the morning chores. Yes, sir. The two of them split up and began opening the curtains throughout the mansion. If the curtains stayed closed, the mansion would remain enveloped in a faint darkness, as though it was still trapped in the previous night. Following a well-rehearsed procedure, Kanan went around the mansion, opening the curtains for one window after another without having to retrace his steps once. Even with this horrible weather, drawing the curtains made it feel just a little bit like morning. While doing that, he passed in front of the kitchen. Even though he hadn't smelled anything yet, his stomach started aching for some of Goda's prized cooking. Good morning. Morning? Question mark? He tried to greet Goda, who should have been getting breakfast ready, but Goda was nowhere to be seen. Oh my god! Oh my god! Goda getting his ass murdered? The kitchen was darkly lit, and not only were the curtains not open, but the fan wasn't even running. It was still cold without any trace of a fire being lit, so of course there were no signs of breakfast being made either. Though it would have been inexcusable. Perhaps Goda had overslept. Even servants are only human. They sometimes sleep in and show up late. In the rare cases that such a thing happens, it's part of a servant's code to hide the unsightly scene before anyone notices, smoothly cover it up, and make sure the family never even realizes that anything has gone wrong. Is Gota dead? Yay! Kanon took the receiver of the phone that had been fitted to the wall and dialed the number of the extension line in the servant's sleeping room. The phone lines have been cut! Everyone get ready! There's a typhoon! The phone lines have been cut! The murders are about to begin! He couldn't hear that characteristic sound of a dial tone. Kanon tried picking up the receiver again, but even so, he couldn't hear the usual dial tone. He tried dialing again, but it had no apparent effect. Could the lightning last night have damaged the machine, breaking the extension line? The equipment in this mansion was all worn out. Kanon fully understood that even the smallest thing could have caused it to break down. He gave up trying to wake Gota with the phone and dashed over to the servant's sleeping room. How long has it been since I stopped sleeping and started lazily staring up at the ceiling? That vague sense of awakening was part of Natsuhi's usual morning experience. She always slept lightly, and she couldn't sleep at all without medicine. To Natsuhi, sleep was definitely not a happy thing. When she looked outside, she saw that it was still pouring. Gota is not making breakfast as he should be, and the phone lines have been... Well, they haven't been cut. The phone lines are not working. When she looked outside, she saw that it was still pouring. If she hadn't sensed a tiny amount of light, she might have mistakenly thought that it was still the previous night. She herself was one of the hosts, so she mustn't wake up later than her guests. Urging herself on, she raised up her body, which still hadn't completely recovered from yesterday's weariness. No one would torment her as long as she remained inside this room, and her headache wouldn't get any worse here. This room was the only place she could find peace. So when she left, it meant returning to the world where her husband's siblings kept trying to stab each other in the back. In that case, wouldn't it be better to just stay locked up in this room forever? That ridiculous notion brought a bitter smile to Natsuhi's face. She was starting to sound like Kinzo. Though she often complained about Kinzo staying locked up in his own room and refusing to attend to everyone else, the truth was that she longed to do the same. Yeah, because everyone sucks! Natsuhi gave her head a small shake, and her fantasy was replaced by the reawakening of her usual headache. When she reached for the doorknob trying to leave the room, her hand touched the scorpion charm that she had hung from it before going to sleep the previous night. It was Maria's charm, which Natsuhi had received from Jessica. Didn't Jessica say something about it having the power to repel magic, telling her to hang it from her doorknob? Maybe it was thanks to the charm that at least this room had been protected from the malice of her husband's siblings. As she thought this, her mood began to get a little more cheerful.
I wonder if I have Jessica to thank for the little bit of peaceful sleep I managed to receive. Then Natsuhi remembered. That's right. Last night, I promised Jessica that I'd give her a charm of my own exchange for this one, didn't I? Natsuhi opened a drawer on her dresser and took out an antique accessory case that she had treasured when she was a child. Inside, there were many small objects that Natsuhi had thought were valuable at the time. From amidst those, she pulled out a red pouch. Inside was a small, round mirror about 10 centimeters across. It looked quite old, but the design on the back of the mirror was very ornate, and it felt like something with historical value. At the very least, it seemed much more authentic than the other charm, which looked like a plastic scorpion keychain.
She had heard that this was a spiritual mirror for warding off evil spirits, and she had been given it specially by her grandmother when her grandfather's mementos had been distributed. Gotta dip and head to bed. I enjoy the rest of the visual novel. Yay, thank you so much for stopping by. It had been believed since long ago that a strange power resided in this mirror. Perhaps people thought it could reflect calamity and malice in the same way it reflected light. She remembers she promised Jessica a trinket of her own in exchange for the scorpion. Natsuhi returned the mirror to its pouch. It would probably be a fitting object to hand over to Jessica. Just as she was placing it in her pocket, the sound of someone knocking on the door suddenly echoed throughout the room. Yes? Good morning, madame. It is Genji. My apologies for waking you so early. I'm coming now. What is it? No servant had ever come to her this early in the morning, nor had they come to wake her in person. Perhaps something bad had happened. Maybe some fatal oversight had been made while preparing breakfast, something that would shame the household in front of their guests. Natsuhi took a deep breath in anticipation for whatever trouble she was about to hear of. When she opened the door, Genji once again gave a morning greeting while bowing deeply. Natsuhi tentatively responded. Some fatal oversight? Good morning. Did something happen? My apologies. It would seem that the telephones have broken down due to the lightning last night. The extension telephone isn't working, so please forgive my coming to see you directly. The extension telephone isn't working. That will be troublesome. Will it be possible to fix it? I am afraid we do not know the location of the damage. Later on, I would like to call in an expert and have him repair it. Does that mean we'll be unable to have it repaired until after the typhoon passes? Then it will remain broken down for the duration of our guests' stay. Will that hamper the efforts to take care of our guests? We will do all we can to ensure there are no problems. Very well. I'm counting on you to make sure we have no blunders. Natsuhi let out a small sigh of relief. She had been prepared for the worst, but damage to the telephones wasn't the kind of trouble she was worried about. Then again, even this probably would be enough to spark sarcasm from Ava. Natsuhi gave her head a light shake. Ooh, girl, you're in for a bad news. Are the preparations for breakfast proceeding well? As to that, we haven't been able to find Goda. The arrangements for breakfast have yet to be carried out. Oh, what did you say? Natsuhi was indignant. To her, this was a much bigger problem than the phones not working. And despite that, this piece of information was the part that had been postponed. What's with that? Why did everything go so well most of the time, and then come to something like this when the relatives were visiting? Natsuhi put her hand to her forehead and shook her head. Well, I suppose he slept in. At any rate, just see to it that someone hurries up and prepares breakfast. I don't care who. What? 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 Natsuhi exited into the hall and turned around for a second to close the door to her room. The creepy thing she saw there silenced her completely. It was an unpleasant sight, as though someone had dipped their fingers in a reddish-black liquid and scratched at the door around the doorknob. It was probably some sort of awful prank, arranged by some person who wanted to make it look as though they'd try to force the door with bloody hands. What sort of prank is this? How awful. It's crazy, too, because Natsuhi's a light sleeper. Genji comes to wake her to inform her that the phones are not working and Goda was nowhere to be found. When Natsuhi went to close the door, she saw that it appeared to be bloodied. The scratching must have made some noise, so it's crazy she slept through that. Love Genji's discussion priorities. Literally, like Genji literally saw that. Genji saw the door and was like, well, we'll try knocking first anyways. I also just noticed it as I came to call you. I will clean it later. Perhaps this is a vulgar joke by one of the guests. Disgusting. Truly disgusting. Who in the world would pull such a childish and disgusting prank? Natsuhi had a pretty good idea, but of course there was no proof, so even if she pushed the issue, it would just seem as though she was making a fuss about nothing. In fact, it would surely be better to act as though she hadn't even realized such a prank had been played on her. Natsuhi gave the order to have it cleaned and headed off to the parlor with a squeak of her heels. When Natsuhi and Genji arrived in the parlor, Eva and Hideyoshi were already there. Good morning, everyone. Morning, Natsuhi-san. I heard Goda-san would be making us breakfast, too. My stomach's been getting all excited since I woke up. Can't wait for her to bring it up and get hit with a women be so dramatic. Literally. After all, it seems food is all you can look forward to at the head family household. I'm pleased to see that you two are in high spirits so early in the morning, Eva-san. With a wary expression, Natsuhi returned Ava's gaze, which was fiercely competitive despite the early hour. Then Kanon jogged in. After bowing an apology to the relatives for running inside the mansion, he noticed Genji and told him something in a small voice. Kanon, have you still not found Goda? My apologies, madame. I went all over the inside of the mansion and the guest house, but I still haven't found him. Where in the world has he gone? At any rate, breakfast is a higher priority than finding Goda right now. See to it immediately. Yes. Kanon glanced at Genji. It seemed he had something else to report, but was uncertain whether or not the words should come from him. Genji nodded and decided to give the report himself. Madame, it is not only Goda. Your husband is also nowhere to be found. My husband? Yes. Even before visiting you, I went to his room to tell him that breakfast wasn't being prepared, but I did not find him there. Furthermore, he is not the only one missing. Rudolph-sama, his wife, and Rosa-sama are nowhere to be found. Not in the guest house? Nor the mansion? Yes. They were not in their rooms in the guest house either. When she'd heard that Goda was missing, she'd assumed he had slept in or was loafing around somewhere. Everyone's missing? I know, right? However, now that she'd learned that several of the relatives were also nowhere to be seen, she began to take a slightly more optimistic view. Optimistic? Could last night's family conference have continued all night up until the present moment? If so, they might have wanted to cool their heads after being shut in a stuffy room, going out for walks on their own through the rain. The part about cooling their heads really sounded like something Kraus would say. Is George missing? Asking for a friend. Her positive outlook, incredible. Right? Right? Maybe it's just that we're genre aware. Yeah, maybe they're all killing George together. Goda had probably been summoned to accompany them and aid them in some way. Goda was not a man who lost track of time. He had to understand that preparations for breakfast would be hindered if he did not return. However, maybe the family conference had continued until this very moment, with an atmosphere that would make it hard for anyone to slip out. Yes, that theory would be quite convincing for Natsuhi. She remembered the illusion she'd felt that morning, as though the previous night had never ended. When she learned that the feeling wasn't just an illusion, she once again took a deep, weary breath. After all, that banquet of filthy vultures circling Kinzo's property was still going on.
Perhaps they're still discussing the inheritance somewhere in the garden, or maybe the beach. At any rate, if we don't call Goda back, we'll never be able to begin preparations for breakfast.
So what are you saying? Are Nissan and the rest still continuing their discussion?
She had planned to say it in a small voice, but Hideyoshi overheard Natsuhi and managed to grasp the situation. Nissan and Rudolph sure are tough. Maybe it's just youth in Rosa's case. Just a bit after midnight, the two of us were so tired that we headed back to bed. Though I do remember that Nissan and the rest were still having a heated discussion at that point. Men certainly are unpleasant when they get all fired up. Natsuhi snorted, her face still blank.
Kanan, search outside. If you find Goda, tell him to return immediately and begin preparing breakfast. Certainly.
Natsuhina-san, we don't know for sure that they're outside, do we? Couldn't they also be inside Father's study?
I see. That's certainly possible. I don't know what path their conversation took, but there's certainly a chance they moved to Father's study and let him in on the discussion.
I can't imagine that Father would willingly let them bring such a detestable topic into his study.
You really think so? Well then, there's nothing we can do. I'm sorry, Genji-san and Kanan-kun, but could you search outside? It wouldn't be that strange for Nissan to suggest they go outside for a walk to cool their heads, even in this weather. I'll go to Father's study. Who knows, they might actually be there after all.
Ava-san, I couldn't ask a guest like you to exert herself so. I will go. I can also wish him a good morning while I'm at it.
Oh, then I'll leave it in your hands, though I somehow doubt he'll return your greeting. Natsuhina-san, have you always been on such good terms with Father?
I don't know whether you could call it that, but I am sure that I have gained his trust as the wife of the successor to the Ushiromiya family.
Then I'm sure he'll at least answer you, right? I'd like to at least have breakfast with Father. Do you think you could convince him to come down and join us? It seems that he thoroughly despises the rest of us, but I'm sure he'll listen to you if he trusts you that much. After speaking so boldly, if you're unable to convince Father and come down alone, then I doubt you'll ever be able to claim that you've earned his trust again.
I am not confident, but I will try. Natsuhi responded, looking discouraged. However, knowing Kinzo's temperament, she had absolutely no confidence in her ability to bring him out. Ava was clearly mocking her, confident that Natsuhi wouldn't be able to get Kinzo to come down. But even so, Natsuhi would lose face if she gave up, saying it was impossible and letting Ava go instead. Ava's mean-spirited and unreasonable demand made Natsuhi clench her fists slightly. When Genji realized this, he softly spoke to her over her shoulder. Madame, please take this if you would. And this is?
Genji handed Natsuhi a sparkling gold key of ornate design. Ooh! Genji taking sides in the power play! Oh, no fucking way! Finds Hideyoshi and Eva in the parlor. Orders Kanon, or finds out everyone is, finds out, who's Goda, Rudolph, Kyrie. Who else was not able to be located? Kraus. Was there anyone who wasn't able to be located? Maria's. Oh, yes, yes, yes. So true. Rosa. You're so right. You're so goated, Haugi. You're paying attention. Ava taunts, Natsuhi. Confident she will not be able to coax, Kinzo out of his study. Genji gives Natsuhi the key to the study, I presume. The master key. You're locked in. You've got it twisted. Lock in. If you lock in, you can do anything. It was the key to Kinzo's study. To Kinzo's study. The study had an auto-lock and couldn't be unlocked as long as Kinzo forbade entrance. However, since Genji was especially trusted by Kinzo, he was allowed to carry a key to that door. But if this key is used, won't you also receive the blame? When the master is sleeping deeply, simply knocking on the door will not suffice. And it would be more difficult to persuade the master to leave his room if you must talk through the door. Please use this. Genji. Until now, Natsuhi had thought of Genji as a cold servant who wouldn't do anything for her, since he worked directly under Kinzo. But it looked like she would have to alter her understanding of him. She wanted to communicate her gratitude, but by then, Genji had already turned his back on her and was walking down the corridor with Kanon. But as Natsuhi watched them go, the words directed at her from behind were sneering. Well, then you must bring father with you, okay? After all, it's his son's precious wife who's asking. I'm sure he'll listen to you. We're guests, so we'll just relax here at our leisure.
Quit it, Ava. You're taking this too far. Sorry, Natsuhine-san, but we're counting on you to deal with father.
Without answering, Natsuhi forcefully spun around on her heels and quickly left that place. After all that excitement the previous night, there was no way anyone was going to wake up early. Okay, so now we are at the guest house. George, Aniki, Jessica, and I were snoring loudly on the beds in the cousin room. But Maria, who had gone straight to bed without joining in, was completely awake. Ava is so mean, but I kind of like her character. Like, can a girl have one problematic fave? Yeah, I have a lot of fun voicing Ava. She's like one of my favorite characters to voice. Like the little like mean bitch kind of voice, like the power plays, you know. As she rubbed her sleepy eyes and looked around, she was met with the loud snoring of the other three cousins. For a while, Maria had to think about what had happened. After that, she realized that her mother wasn't with her, and she quickly got lonely. Maria left the cousin room, trying to head to the room that had been arranged for her and her mother. While the cousins are still sleeping, and looks for her mom. Paying no heed to the three who were sleeping soundly, she slammed the door shut. In response, Battler mumbled and rolled over in a sleep, but it wasn't enough to wake him. After a while, Maria returned, once again opening the door with a lively bang. When she had left the room, her face had been sleepy, but now that she was back, she looked irritated. After that, she climbed up on Battler's bed, which happened to be the closest, and started yelling and jumping on it like it was a trampoline.
Wake up!
Why does it look so bad? I saw another version. You probably switched to... You probably saw these, right?
Ah! What? What? Is it an enemy raid? Surround them!
You probably saw the new sprites. Yeah, I was using the old sprites. I assume you're talking about the character sprites. After making sure I was awake, Maria moved over to George Aniki's bed and started jumping on that too. In that manner, the three of us were all greeted with an extremely pleasant awakening. You're probably used to this, right? This is George. I'm sure you can tell it's George. Yeah, I saw a bit of a different version and it looked much better in my opinion. Yeah, I get it, but like, I think I have a certain fondness for this. There's a certain charm to it that I like. This one is weird. I saw an even better version than that? That's crazy. I like the original ones. They have a lot of personality. Yeah, like whenever someone's like trying to like draw in the Umineko style, like you can tell it's got a very distinct. It has the aesthetic charm of a beetle, right? Like like the car beetle. Like it's very recognizable, right? Yeah, neither of these are the ones I saw. That's crazy. Thanks for waking us up, Maria-chan. Or sorry, I'm not even in character.
Thanks for waking us up, Maria-chan. You stopped us from sleeping in after that late night. If only you could have been a bit more gentle about it.
George Nissan, you really are an adult. I respect that.
It'll be 7 soon. Well, it's not really a bad time to wake up.
Like, my version is even high production with voice acting and stuff. That's crazy. But it has a charm, you're right. Yeah, I think this version also has voice acting, but like, I like doing voices, so I'm doing voices. Like, sorry everyone has to listen to this, but I'm having fun.
Mama's not here.
Aunt Rosa? She wasn't in her room? I wonder if she's already woken up and gone to the mansion.
Not here. Mama.
Maria kept groaning, and looking unhappy. She didn't exactly seem lonely because her mother wasn't around. It was more like she was irritated and thrown off balance because her mother wasn't where she had expected. If we could just tell her where her mother was, that alone would probably calm her down. But unfortunately, we had no way of knowing where Aunt Rosa was, except that she wasn't here. And forces all of the cousins to wake up. Anyway, it's time for breakfast, so let's head over to the mansion.
That's right! Maria, let's go to the mansion together, okay? I'm sure Aunt Rosa will be there too.
Ooh, Battler, you're making promises I'm not sure you can keep.
Mama's in the mansion? Then I'll go there.
Yeah, guess we should go to the mansion. Our parents have probably already gone there.
Maria regained her usual composure so completely, her earlier tantrum now seemed like a lie. We got dressed, left the room, and headed for the mansion. Is Maria on the spectrum? Seems like she's written with those stereotypes in mind. I would say so. That's why her mother hit her, actually, I think. Her mother is unable to accept the fact that her daughter is on the spectrum, and she has these expectations of her that Maria is unable to fulfill, right? I was thinking about it when it specified her upsetness was due to the mom not being where she expected her to be. Right, right. Once more, there was a knocking sound on the study door, but there was no answer. He seemed to be sleeping still, and I could not wake him. If she went back downstairs and said something like that, Ava would probably be amused and triumphant. Exactly, you get me. Plus the vocal stimming. Yeah. I think autism havers in the chat when someone has autism. I think they have autism. And even putting Ava aside, it was problematic that Kinzo had stayed shut away during this entire once-a-year conference, not even coming down to greet anyone. Even the family head, no, especially the family head, couldn't fail to make an appearance. I'm never beating the autism allegations. I wonder if I can convince him myself? Natsuhi readied herself and used the door she'd borrowed from Genji to open the door. Dun dun dun, is the first body gonna be discovered? Even though she was prepared for the sweet stench, which seemed to eat into one's brain as it poured out from the small crack in the door, she couldn't help but grimace. Thinking that he might still be sleeping, Natsuhi entered the room quietly. When she did, Kinzo was already awake and looking down out of the window. So you're awake. Good morning. What was my Kinzo voice? How did you get in? Kinzo spoke with his back still facing her. His voice was not harsh but calm, and Natsuhi was slightly reassured. However, though he was awake, he wouldn't have ignored all that knocking if he was in a good mood. Natsuhi wasn't able to relax. Monokuma voice, a body has been discovered. My sincerest apologies. I asked Genji-san, and he allowed me to borrow the key to the study. Genji did? If my friend thought it was that important, then I have no choice but to listen. That's good. I'm surprised. I thought he would have been like, fuck! I've been betrayed by my closest friend! I thought he would have been like that. So, what business do you have with me? Breakfast will be ready soon, and I would greatly appreciate it if you would join us. I love Genji. He really played this well. He really did. You don't even know how bad Kinzo is. You haven't even seen Kinzo crash out, and you already know how well Genji played it. I will eat here. Have it brought here like always. But father, this family conference happens only once a year. Please, at least let them see your face. Go back downstairs. Are you asking me to join in as they discuss how to chew up my inheritance after I die? How foolish! Let them speak of such matters as much as they please without me. And if that's what you call a family conference, it's hardly worth leaving my room for it. I am busy. Do not bother me. His last words carried the threat that any further questions would not be appreciated. Natsuhi realized that adding any further pleas would finally bring his wrath down upon her. She didn't look forward to facing Ava's sarcasm, but there was nothing more Natsuhi could do. Is that so?
Understood. I am sure everyone will be sorry to hear it, but I will tell them.
Natsuhi decided to give up. Cut your losses, girl. Bowing silently, she tried to leave the room before Kinzo's spasmodic temper could flare up. As she did, Kinzo spoke to her. The study to find Kinzo already awake. Kinzo refuses to join them for breakfast. His voice was so calm and gentle, it felt like it came from an entirely different person.
Natsuhi, it has been quite some time since you married into the Ushiromiya family.
Yes. It has been many years since I was first permitted to bear the name Ushiromiya.
Do you sometimes long for your previous family?
No. Marriage means abandoning your birth family. I am Ushiromiya Natsuhi. The Ushiromiya family is the only family I can come home to. The only one I am fond of. She truly wasn't exaggerating. Such was the resolve she felt whenever she applied the Ushiromiya family name to herself. And that's precisely why she was so saddened when her husband didn't treat her like an Ushiromiya, leaving her to race about in vain.
If Kraus were a woman, and you, his husband...
No,
I won't say that.
What do you mean by that, father? Natsui was shocked. If Kinzo's words just now were what they seemed? Hello? And with that one line, a whole family of Fix was born. Oh my god, this is a crazy moment. It would have been more than enough to make up for all she had suffered to that point.
Forget it. It's just the nonsense of an old man.
Kinzo once again faced away from her. Oh my god. Natsuhi? He had told her to forget it, but Natsuhi couldn't help feeling a warmth in her heart. Father, even though I, Natsuhi, am not connected to you by blood, I am still your daughter. I will most assuredly see to it that your honor and glory, and everything you have left behind, are protected. Oh no, I feel like Kinzo's gonna start yelling about how nothing matters.
You do not have the right to wear the one-winged eagle. However, the one-winged eagle is surely engraved in your heart. That is irrefutable proof that you are my blood relative, one who will inherit the glory of the Ushiromiya family. Some will sneer that there is no eagle on your clothes, but such words are not worth lending an ear to. Only those who hold the eagle in their hearts are my true blood relatives. I now consider it an honor that you are welcomed into the Ushiromiya family.
Without saying anything more, Kinzo remained with his back to Natsuhi. However, Natsuhi couldn't help but feel something warm well up inside her that she hadn't felt since long ago, when she had been just a child. Natsuhi bowed silently to his back and left the room. That's crazy! As Natsuhi leaves, Kinzo affirms her existence as in Ushiro Miya, saying she had the one winged eagle in her heart. Like, abolish families, but this is like so big for Natsuhi. This is like the biggest event of like the past like 5 decades for Natsuhi. Good timing. How is father? You were taking so long, so I came to check. How old is she? I said 5 decades. I'm exaggerating. Let's see. Do they have ages here? Huh, I guess there are no ages. Sad. They have ages for the kids though, right? Oh no. You just have to know this. Well then, let's see. I know I wrote this down. So, Battler, George, Ava, Curie. Oh no, I only wrote down she's a chronic migraine haver. My useless notes. Useless ass notes. When Natsuhi left the study, she saw Ava climbing the stairs and their eyes met. Ava was smirking unpleasantly, thinking that Natsuhi would leave grudgingly after failing to convince Kinzo. Well, her kid is like 16, 17, or however old. How old is Battler? They're like in their teens, so she's at least been here for like 2 decades, let's say. I think more, since they were having trouble conceiving. Thinking that, yeah. However, the way Natsuhi was now, such a frivolous laugh would not disturb her. She was not permitted to wear the family crest on her clothing, but she was permitted to wear it in her heart. So she spoke calmly, clearly, and confidently, with the dignity of the one who would protect the Ushiromiya family's glory. Father said he would not join in on the family conference. He says he has no interest in discussing such obscene matters. I figured you'd say something like that. If you failed to persuade father, just say so. How pitiful. I'm beginning to see why father lamented so. What do you mean by that? Natsuhi did not answer. Just as Kinzo had done, she showed Ava her back as she headed down the stairs. Get her ass! Finally! 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 Natsuhi has the upper hand. For once in her life! Ava finally realized that she was being made fun of, that something had happened to quickly bolster Natsuhi's confidence. Even so, she apparently didn't have the courage to risk Kinzo's wrath. Unable to even knock on the door, she could only click her tongue, make a motion as though scratching at it, and follow after Natsuhi. Interesting. Scratching at it? Scratching at the doorknob? Scratching at it? That, just like the similarities in the phrasing, I'm writing that down. Ava, unable to knock on Kinzo's door, only making a scratching gesture at it. Natsuhi sus? No, wait, not Natsuhi. What am I doing? Ava sus? Interesting, right? Like, of course it would be Ava who did the prank, right? Like, the one that Natsuhi beefs with the most is Ava. Because if you look here at the family tree, right? Okay, so here's Kinzo, right, in the upper left corner. And in descending order, here are his 4 kids. Kraus, Ava, Rudolph, and Rosa. Natsuhi is Krause's wife. So she, in theory, Jessica should be the successor, right? But because they were having trouble conceiving, George had been born first, and George is Ava's son, right? So Ava is constantly trying to one-up Natsuhi and get George to be the family head successor instead. So, were Nissan and the rest there? Did you ask father about them? I didn't get the chance to ask, but they were not inside the study. Plus, George is a man, literally. Although the family bloodline matters more. Like, if you notice here, right, this is the hierarchy, right? Like, in their dinner table, how they sit is Kinzo sits at the head, the four kids sit together, or his four kids sit together, then their kids, who are direct succession in the bloodline, sit after them, and then the spouses sit after the kids, which is crazy. So, like, the blood matters more than, like, the gender in this case. But, like, yeah, I'm sure that does not help Jessica. Father would never let them into his room to discuss such a lowly topic, so it is unlikely he knows where they went. Let us go downstairs and wait for the servants to return from their search. Yeah, George and Jessica are both blood. Yeah, so it's like Jessica was born first. And well, she was born second, but she has the blood of Kraus, who was the firstborn in the bloodline. It's complicated. It's so messy. I'm like the family tree. Breakfast may be late, but how would you like some tea, Ava-san? That would be fine. Ava couldn't hide her confusion at the complete difference in Natsuhi's attitude. She was acting so boldly, and while Ava hated to admit it, she even had a sense of dignity about her. This is why I'm not having kids. Too complicated, literally. Unable to find fault with anything, Ava could only follow Natsuhi back to the parlor. He can't complain people are discussing his inheritance when he makes it so complicated. Literally. When the two of them returned to the parlor, Hideyoshi had been joined by the four children and Nanjo. Genji, who had been talking with Hideyoshi, reported the current situation when he noticed that Natsuhi had returned. You still have not found my husband and the rest?
Yes, my apologies. Also, Kumasawa has started preparing breakfast. She said that she will need just a little longer.
The clock read a little past 8. 8 should have been the time to start breakfast. Normally, going over that time limit would be a disgrace to the host.
Kanon is now searching outside. Also,
no one has
seen Shannon either.
Even Shannon's missing. Natsuhi has now been emboldened by Kinzo's statement and can hold her own against Ava. They return to the parlor to find Hideyoshi and Genji joined by Nanjo and the cousins. Nobody has... Kumasawa has started breakfast. Kanon is still searching outside. And Shannon is also missing. I know, Shannon, no! Truly, just how many people did my husband bring with him on his little walk? Just how many people had gone missing by now? Now that the number was this large, it was starting to feel truly unpleasant, as though the people here were the only ones being left out of something interesting. At least, that seemed to reflect the feelings of the children, and Maria in particular. She was indignant, her stomach rumbling, almost as though her mother and the others had left her alone to go off and eat something delicious without her. The other children were flipping through the channels on the television, trying to find a program that might interest Maria and cheer her up again. Nanjo was sitting on the sofa, gazing blissfully at the children while reading a book. It must have been a book about chess. The sound of footsteps came rushing towards them with a pitter-patter. There was only one set, so they realized before seeing who it belonged to that it was probably Kanan, not Kraus and the rest. Stuff like this really makes me appreciate how simple my family is. I really only ever talk to my parents and their parents, nothing else. It's simple, it's shrimple.
Madame, excuse me.
Judging by your appearance, you still haven't been able to find them.
My apologies. I still haven't.
That will be enough. You've worked hard. She didn't know where they were, but they had to be somewhere on this island. They hadn't had a thing to eat since the previous night, so their stomachs must be growling about now. They'd probably come plodding back of their own accord before long. By now, Natsuhi was thoroughly exasperated and started to feel that there was no reason for them to go out of their way and search.
I will go to the kitchen and prepare some tea for all of the guests. Thanks to both of you for all your hard work so early in the morning.
Natsuhi left the parlor, acting as though the release in tension had caused a new surge in her headache. Kanon tried to call her back, but Natsuhi left swiftly.
What is it? Was there something else? Yes. I was unable to find her husband or anyone else, but... well...
Kanon sounded evasive. Ooh, what did you see, Kanon? Kanon returned, finding none of the missing people, and Natsuhi leaves to make tea. And yet... it looked as though he didn't know where they were, but had spotted something that might be connected to their disappearance. Ava and Hideyoshi noticed this exchange of words and came over. They'd probably picked up on something strange in Kanon's behavior.
What's going on, Kanon-kun? Did you find Kraus, Nissan, and everyone else?
Actually, the Rose Garden storehouse looks strange.
What do you mean, it looked strange? Oh?
It was... how should I explain it?
Kanon hesitated once more. His tone wasn't at all what you would expect from this usually fearless boy. Seeing this, Ava and Hideyoshi looked at each other dubiously. What do you mean? Are you saying Nissan and the others were inside the storehouse?
No. I am going to inspect the inside now. I just now came back to get the key, but...
I don't really get it, but it sounds like we've just got to look around inside it. Where's the key to that storehouse?
It is in the servant room. Let us check inside the storehouse at once.
Oh my god. I think this next scene is gonna be really long, because I'm pretty sure this is where they find the bodies. So I wonder if I should stop here. Because I'm already getting kind of, like, tired out. And we are reaching the 2-hour mark. So maybe we'll, like, do the murders next time. Like, literally, we have to do the murders next time. I think. But yeah. Yeah. I actually think I'm going to end it right here. He came to retrieve the key. Yeah. Thank you all for coming to this surprise stream. Chat, do I want to end stream with another bowl of fried rice? Yes, you do. Yes, yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, save, save, save. Umi notes 4. Happy Heiji's debut day! Oh my god! Happy Heiji's debut! It was so fun! I loved your voices! Hashtag my voices. I love doing voices. Voices are so fun. I get to play around a little bit. But yeah, which was yesterday in my time zone. Oh, okay. Saturday, December 6th. Happy Heiji Day. But yeah, I'm so sorry about this surprise stream. I was just curious. I wanted to know what happens. Do they find the bodies? And they don't find the bodies, but the suspense was great. The atmosphere was really great. I'm really hungry now, so I'm also going to get something to eat. Unlike everyone else who is going to get distracted by something soon. But yeah, bye everyone.